You lie down on the couch in the middle of the afternoon, and before your body even settles, your mind is already building a list of everything you should be doing instead. The dishes, the email you have not answered, the person you told you would call. You are tired in a way sleep does not seem to fix, yet somehow the guilt arrives faster than the rest does. You know you needed this. You still feel like you are getting away with something. If that scene sounds familiar, you are not imagining it and you are not lazy. Something in you has been trained to treat stillness as a small betrayal, and it is worth asking where that training came from, because that kind of pressure fueled by guilt did not come from Scripture. Most of us were never taught to distinguish two very different voices. One voice says, "You have limits. You were never meant to run without stopping. Come and receive what you cannot manufacture yourself." That voice sounds much more like the wisdom of God. The other voice says, "If you are not producing, you are failing, and if you are resting, you must be avoiding something." That voice sounds spiritual, but it is pressure wearing the language of faith. Guilt is loud, and it is convincing, but loud is not the same thing as true. Here is the part almost nobody says out loud. Rest was not invented by tired people looking for an excuse. It was written into creation before sin ever entered the picture, and it was written into Scripture as a command, not a suggestion for the weak. Jesus said the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Read that slowly. It means rest was designed as a gift given to you, not a reward you earn after you have proven yourself worthy of it. If you have been treating rest as something you have to justify, you have the order backward. You do not rest because you finally did enough. You rest because you are a creature, made with limits, loved by a God who never had any. Think about how Psalm 23 begins. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." Notice who is doing the leading. The sheep does not demand the pasture and does not schedule the stillness. The shepherd leads it there, because the sheep, left to itself, will keep grazing anxiously until it collapses. You are not weak for needing to be led into rest. You are exactly what the psalm describes, a creature who needs a shepherd, and the shepherd is not disappointed by that. He built the pasture on purpose. So why does it still feel unsafe to lie down in it? Because somewhere along the way, your faith got fueled by pressure instead of trust, and pressure does not know how to rest. Pressure only knows how to keep pushing until something breaks. That is why Jesus does not say, "Come to me and I will make you productive." He says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." A yoke is not a device for the lazy. It is a device for pulling weight. Jesus is not offering you nothing to carry. He is offering to carry it with you, at a pace that will not crush you. If your version of faith has been one person pulling the entire load alone, exhausted, afraid to stop in case everything collapses, that is not the yoke Jesus described. That is the very burden he came to remove. This is where Hebrews becomes so important. Hebrews is not merely talking about taking a break on a difficult afternoon. It is talking about entering the rest of God by faith, instead of trying to secure by human effort what only God can provide. It says there remains a rest for the people of God, and whoever enters that rest ceases from his own works, the way God ceased from his. Notice the phrase, his own works. The rest being described is not laziness, it is the end of trying to secure by your own effort what God has already provided by grace. Then the writer adds something that surprises a lot of people. Let us labor to enter that rest. Entering rest, real rest, actually takes a kind of effort, the effort of letting go of control, the effort of trusting when your instinct is to keep striving. It is strange, but true. Sometimes the hardest work you will do is deciding to stop. And this connects to something Jesus said that has nothing to do with productivity and everything to do with rest. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it remains in the vine, neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. A branch does not strain to grow fruit. It does not clench and squeeze and force the grapes into existence through sheer effort. It stays attached, and the fruit comes as a result of that attachment, not as a result of the branch working harder than the vine. If your spiritual life has felt like straining for fruit instead of resting in the vine, it is worth asking whether you have quietly started to believe that fruit comes from your grip, not from your connection. Now, none of this means rest is the same thing as avoidance, and it would be dishonest to pretend that distinction does not matter. Avoidance and rest can look identical on the outside, both involve lying still, but they are not the same thing on the inside. Avoidance turns away from what God is asking of you today, quietly hoping the responsibility disappears if you ignore it long enough. Rest, even when it looks the same from across the room, remains turned toward Him. It says, I trust you with what I am setting down, instead of, I am hoping no one notices what I am ignoring. The question worth asking yourself is not, am I doing nothing right now? The question is, in this stillness, am I turned toward God or away from Him? That question matters because guilt is not a reliable guide here. Guilt will accuse you whether you are resting in faith or avoiding in fear, because guilt does not actually care about truth. It only cares about keeping you anxious. So instead of asking guilt what it thinks of your rest, bring the question to God directly. A simple prayer can do more than an hour of self-examination. Something like this: Lord, I receive this rest as yours, not as neglect. Teach me the difference between resting in you and hiding from you. That prayer will not erase every uncomfortable feeling instantly, and it should not be expected to, but it puts the question where it belongs, in the hands of the one who actually knows your heart, instead of leaving it in the hands of guilt, which never will. This will probably not resolve itself in one afternoon. If you have practiced guilt for years, peace will not arrive the moment you decide to try trusting again, and that is not a sign you are doing this wrong. The practice is small and repeatable. Say the sentence before you rest, not only after the guilt shows up. Let it go ahead of the guilt instead of arriving as a defense after it. Over time, it starts to feel less like an argument you are having with yourself, and more like the truth it actually is. You were not created to run without stopping, and you were not saved by a grace that expects you to. The same God who commanded rest, who leads sheep to green pastures, who offers His yoke instead of your isolation, who calls you to remain in the vine rather than strain for fruit, is not waiting for you to earn the right to lie down. He is waiting for you to receive it as His idea in the first place. Next time you feel that guilt arrive, the moment you finally sit still, do not argue with it and do not obey it. Bring it to Him instead, and let the shepherd tell you what the pasture is for.